Hello, everybody, and welcome to Untether.tv. I'm your host and founder, Rob Woodbridge. Brands, and more brands. How would you like to own these brands on the mobile platform? Cinderella, Monsters, Inc., Phineas and Ferb. My kids love Phineas and Ferb. Strawberry Shortcake, Umi Zoomy, Chuggington, Dora the Explorer, Minnie. That's Minnie Mouse. It's a Small World. That's Disney, Dora, Happy Feet, SpongeBob. All of these great brands all in one location, all emanating from a studio called Budge Studios in Montreal. So we're going to dive into an understanding of how do you find these brands? Why go brand only? What's the impact of all these brands on distribution and rising above the noise? And how did this company, Budge Studios, close their first brand? It's only a 2.5-year-old company, and all of these under one roof. Can you believe it? And that's what we're going to dive into. Can't wait for this conversation. I'm joined today from Montreal, Quebec, which is in Canada. Go Canada. Noemie Dupuy, who is one of the co-founders, one of the three co-founders from their studio inside of their office at Budge Studios. Noemie, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I am exceptional. I'm excited. We got to talk a little bit before we actually started recording this.
Sure.
And, these brands are the brands I look at every single day because of my kids. Every day.
I know, they're the best brands for kids.
I'm blown away, and we're gonna. I want to understand how you managed to secure all of these brands for what you're doing. But before then, I think it's fair to let everybody know about this gem called Budge Studios in Montreal. Who are you?
Sure. So we create and develop and publish apps for kids, and they're based on top kids properties. So we have partnerships with Disney, Nickelodeon, Lou Durham, American Greetings, Random House, etc. So we're really lucky because, we secured amazing kids properties since day one. We're 40 people internally. We started two years and a half ago with, I started 2 years and a half ago with two other partners. And, it just started that, I'm an entrepreneur since like 12 years. We have another company called Wave Generation, and we do audio for video games. That's why I'm in the studio right now. And, it's a very successful company. We work with EA and Ubisoft and BioWare and 2K and, name it, and since 12 years. And we develop audio for big brands. So, like for an example, we work with Fisher-Price, and, a lot of brands that we work with are kids brands. So we have that type of expertise since 12 years, but it's always been for service, and we never did our own product. And after 10 years in business, we're like, you know what, it would have been so much fun to do our own product. But, even 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it was all about the Xbox and the PlayStation, and you needed millions of dollars to develop a game. So we couldn't, that was not what we were. And, it just came along, like 3 years ago, I had kids, young kids, and my partner, Michael, also had kids. And, we love Apple and we love the iPhone. And my kid just wanted my iPhone all the time. And I looked at the content of the apps, and really, coming from the video game sector, it was really shameful because the apps were awful. So we said, you know what, we could do better. And we took that as a project. The first thing we said, the three of us loved the idea. And we said, you know what, let's try to do an app. We never did an app. And we took it as a project. We hired a programmer, an artist. And remember, we did a list. We did a list of the biggest brands out there. Because one thing we knew, the first thing we knew is we wanted a big brand. That's the one thing we knew. And we did a list, and on the top of the list was Dora the Explorer. It's like international, every preschool like it, knows it, etc. And you know what? I just emailed somebody there. I didn't even know somebody there. And, I got a response, and I got an invitation to go to New York to Viacom and to explain my idea. And we went in that room, and there was like 7 top VPs, and we just like proposed an idea. We proposed a concept, actually. We did a demo. So that helped us. We had the programmer, we had the artist, and, we had a great idea. really, and I think we understood the brand really well. And, at the end of the meeting, they just said, we love your idea. I remember somebody saying, that's exactly what Apple wants. So it really went well. And at that point, we got a huge contract. And we had to hire people.
Wait. I gotta pull back here a second. You quite literally cold emailed somebody at Viacom who was in charge.
I did.
And you got invited to New York, and you closed the deal based on a demo to them.
I did, and what's weird about this?
Wait, what's weird? The whole thing is weird. That's what.
You know what? I had a lot of contacts because it's been 10 years I'm in the video game industry, so I could have proposed a concept to my contacts, at EA or at Ubisoft or at Gameloft or at 2K or at Fisher Price, but we really felt that the brand that we wanted to get was Dora. I really wanted that brand, so I think we did a demo. We invested in a demo. We just didn't go there, with a PowerPoint. We went there with, an iPad, and we said, this is what we want to do. And it just, it was just timing. I think they looked at it, they loved it, they liked our proposal, creative proposal, and that's how we started. And then when I got Nickelodeon, and our first app was Dora Christmas, actually. And so we launched it at Christmas. And it was like #1 in like 30 countries in the game, kids and game educational. It was like the biggest success. We were so happy. And it's not easy in the app world. There's so much competition. And we're like, okay, now it's not a project. Now it's a company. Now it's Budge Studios. So, and that's where we, a year ago we were like 20 people, and now we're 40 people. So
okay, so you cold email somebody who's in charge. You want Dora. You say, listen, we're not going to even go through LinkedIn. We're going to find this person. We're going to email this person and say, listen, what was in that email that made them answer you? So this was 3 years ago. So maybe it was.
Yeah, I think short emails are the best. I think it was a really short email. I had a lot to say, but I think it was like a 3-line, just a 3-line email. And that person, just responded.
And so from the time that you emailed, do you remember how long it took for you to get a response? And then by the time, how long it was before you were in New York City in front of them?
I think a month.
A month?
Yeah, a month. Maybe I think a month for response and everything, maybe 2 months before we were in New York. Like that would be the max.
So this has to have a lot to do with timing, because do you think you could do that today with Dora in this climate?
Sure, I think so. I think that if you propose a good concept, you can. It's understanding the brand. It's really understanding the brand and understanding your partner. So there's the brand itself, and then what does your partner want to do? And is it the same thing that you want to do? So that's it's been like 2 years we're working with Nickelodeon, and it's a great partnership. I think we did like 4 Dora apps, and we did a Timu Mizumi, and we did a SpongeBob app. So, and with Disney, it's the same thing. We're doing tons of apps with them this year. We did tons last year. We did Mini Bowmaker, Cinderella, Monster Inc., Phineas and Ferb. It's a Small World, and it's continuing this year because we want the same thing, and we understand each other, and we love working together. It just works well. Okay, so
I'm very interested in this, in the approach that you guys took. So Budge has been around for 2.5 years, and you are going through. So it was that kind of defining moment when you closed the Dora deal with Viacom that you said, okay, now we are a company. It was a hobby. It was a test. We landed this. We are now a company called Budge Studios. Was the Dora app the first one that you created?
Yes.
The first app you create is
well, we had a demo, a Mega Block, and again a brand, the Mega Blocks. So it was still a brand, but that we saw it as a demo. So we did that, in a month. So, but the first one really was Dora Christmas.
I love that story. Just because I hear a lot of people building up the anticipation. They want to get into the business, but something's holding them back, and they can't find a client, and they can't do this, and they can't do this. But it's you cold emailed Viacom, somebody at Viacom, and your first in production out the door app is Dora's Christmas Carol Adventure, and it becomes one of the top apps, and it cemented the relationship with Viacom, didn't it?
It did. And I think you always think it's too
Yeah.
late. You know, I remember like 2 years and a half ago, I saw other kids app out there and I'm like, oh my God, we're so late. Everybody's
Yeah.
there. I think every year is the same thing. But every year there's new opportunities, there's new way of doing things. And there's going to be, new guys that are going to, do kids app that are going to revolutionize what we're doing. So it's.
There's opportunity out there. Well,
There is.
so what about this decision? I'm so fascinated with this. I ran a mobile game company for a number of years, and we went after brands, and we had some good brands like Rubik's Cube and Breeders' Cup, and this was a mobile
Sure.
gaming company that was for that 18 to 35-year-old male. So we did go after brands, and we made a conscious decision to move away from them, except for core brands like New York Times and such that really help develop an audience. We'll talk about those in a second. But what was it about the brands? Why were you guys so intent on going after the brand? Why this brand first mentality?
Sure. Well, I'm going to first say why not brand? Because I think that, a lot of people don't want to do brand because they think they're not going to have a good deal. I think that they're like, why are you going to share profit if it's not? So the first thing is it possible to get a good deal with brands? And if it is, why not? It's all about that. So, if you can get good deals with brands and good relationship with brands, there's a lot of brands that I wanted, but I saw that, my vision was not the same one than, the property owners of those brands. So it's not a good match. So that's really important. And so why brands? Because first of all, my audience is kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And, in the App Store, they're just going to look at brands. And like when they go to a store, they're going to want the toy with, the Mickey Mouse. Or if they go to the grocery store, they're going to want the Cheerio with, the surprise in it or something. They choose and they know what they want. So they're my audience. Second of all, my customers are the parents. So I think that brand secures, there's something that is secure about brands. They know that they think or they hope, they hope they're going to get quality. They hope, even regarding like violence or thing, if you think about, a strawberry shortcake, it's going to be okay. You're not going to have ads every 2 seconds. That it's going to be proper, that the company, we invest a lot in our apps, etc. So there's a type of security for the customer. And I think that's really important. And I think that the parents or the customer I'm sure they were disappointed at a point because, apps, it's like the App Store is like the Far West, it's like there's everything. And I'm sure they bought apps at like $5 and they got the content and it was not good content and their kids didn't want to play it. So there's the brand, it's a security for the parents. So that's one thing. Another thing also is like international sales, like I'm trying to secure brands that have international appeal. And 50% of my revenue comes from international sales. And I need that 50%. I would have needed to invest a lot more in marketing to break through, like in Brazil. In Brazil, I have like strawberry shortcake is doing great. In Russia, Chuggington is like #1 since the launch. In Japan, in LATAM, Dora is doing like so great. So there's something to say about the App Store and international brands. So that's one other thing. Another thing with Kids app that I think is really interesting is that it's an evergreen. Dora today, if you invest in the app, in the production, and you really do it well, and you update it, with new content, etc., will appeal to a 2 or 3-year-old or 4-year-old in 2 years. Because it's going to be recognizable in several years. So that for me is appealing. It's not just about the launch, or there's a longevity to the app, and I can see it. I have a catalog of like 15 apps right now, and my Dora Christmas that I talked about like a few minutes ago is still like the #1 app every Christmas since like 2 years. So, and I'm sure it's going to do really well next year too. So that's really interesting regarding revenue, because it's really building a catalog, and it's not like a one-hit wonder, and it's not something that works in 2010 and doesn't in 2013. But you need to have a good product, and you need to update.
You know, I love that point about longevity, right? Is that we used to do a lot of games for films, for major motion pictures, and those things sucked, right? Because they went in cycles based on the popularity of the film. So the box office, like opening weekend, was great. People went home and they downloaded and they paid money for the app. Next weekend, they sucked, and it was like, you know, 4 months of work, and they expire ultimately. Don't those apps expire?
I do agree. Yeah. I do agree. Or it has to be really a great design, and without the movie, it could be an app, you know, just from itself. But I do agree. That's really hard.
Well, and to your point about the children as the stewards of the brands. So I was introduced to Phineas and Ferb because of the App Store when I got the very first gen iPad. You know, there was a Phineas and Ferb app that came out of my kids. They were 3 at the time, maybe just before they turned 3. They're like, Phineas and Ferb, Dad. Phineas and Ferb. Phineas and Ferb. I'm like, who's Phineas and Ferb? And now, you know, as a family, we sit and watch it because it's the funniest show on television. Okay, so so it's obvious why I choose the brands, but it's a difference between, and I find it funny to say this, but then just calling up a brand and saying, hey, do you want to do business? Which is exactly what you did.
Sure.
But so you decide, oh, look, we're going to stick with brands. Ultimately we want to be brand only, big brands and marquee brands for this customer. And then there's that transition to actually making it happen, which is always a challenge. But your decision to go with brands was because of trust. You land one, then what happens to you guys? Because you have, I scrolled through them for, if you're watching this, I scrolled through them. There's how many? 15 different apps that you,
15.
Yeah. In 2.5 years, some of the biggest brands, Cinderella, Disney, you're talking about Viacom. How did you do that? How did you go from the one relationship with Viacom into just kind of parlaying it into other brands?
Oh, good. I think it's a good question. I think it's several things. I would say the first thing, because I think one of the most important thing is there's a lot of developers out there, that have developed for brands. There's fewer that are really that do marketing, and we do.
What do you mean by that?
We wanted to develop, but I think that we bring something else to the property owners, like a lot of them, not all of them, but some of them, they don't want to do the marketing, or they don't have time, or they don't have they don't have a model for the marketing for their apps. And we had knowledge, or we gained knowledge, and we invested a lot in marketing. And I think that they're very interested. Again, not all of the brands, depend on our contract, but a lot of them, they're very interested because we're successful in marketing. We can bring apps to number one. We have a team internally that look at the app, at the longevity of the app, that have marketing plans month by month. We're very active. And that's something that's very appealing, because sometimes they don't have the resources internally, or they dealt with, agencies, and they really like having the developer and the marketing side together, because more and more marketing is within the app. It's not separate. It's not just at the launch also. So they like to know that, pre-production, we think about marketing. Production, we think about marketing, launch, but even like 2 years after, we think about marketing. And I think that's something that's really appealing to people.
And I'm going to assume that the exclusive focus that you put on the brands puts them at ease as well, because then you understand their business, as opposed to somebody who's kind of mixed or every once in a while comes up with a brand win. But you understand what Disney's looking for. You understand what these companies are looking for as a partner, don't you?
I do, and I think we work with them. Like example for strawberry shortcake, or even for Dora. We again, and we see them. They help us also. Like for the Doras or the Chuggington that we've done, or the strawberry shortcake. We did a lot of cross promotion. Our apps are on the books of strawberry shortcake, in the DVDs, in the magazines of Dora. So the kids, they can see it in the. They see that. At if they go to Walmart, they'll see something about the app. If they open their DVD, they'll see a trailer of the app, etc. Or they're going to see a TV ad. So we work with them on that aspect. And even now, right now, we're creating an app, and marketing is really important. We're doing a special thing with Burger King, so internationally, and with Walmart. So it's going to be really exciting.
Pull back to that for a second, because a lot of companies and a lot of people that I've talked to and worked with have great relationships with brands. But when I mention the word, well, listen, there's got to be a co-marketing. This is a brand that has an existing audience. The key here is to go back out to that existing audience of awaiting hands and sell or market directly to them, or let them know that there's an app that has this brand in it. And they all look at me like, whoa, we can't do that. You know what? The magazine division is different over here. The book division is different over here, and the board game division is different over here. There's no way that we can just put a little download the app symbol on any of that packaging. So that's out. And that always floors me. Do you ever run into that, or is it a condition of what it is that you do for these companies that you say, hey, listen, we need your assistance in marketing. You have the audience.
Sure. Well, there's some that does it, like Disney. They do their own marketing because it's such a machine, and I want them to do the marketing. I'm really happy that they do. Yeah. And they do well. But for all the others, and it's, we're talking about big companies also, I think that, it's about partnership again. If I see, when I meet somebody, if I see that that's how they're going to respond, I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not a good partnership. So, but if it's somebody who says, oh, you know what, I just don't have time to do it, I'll give you all my contacts. Please contact them. Try to do something with them because we don't have time, or we don't know how to do it, or we'll help you. We'll do it together. A lot of time, like really, we'll do it together. So regarding all our partnership right now, it's more about that. It's like, okay, let's try. Or because we have knowledge, we'll say to them, we tried that with somebody else, it worked. Let's try it with your brand, Or we do a lot of. People are very receptive, and they see the result. I think we do one app with somebody, they see that we're talking about strawberry. Within 2 months, there's like 1 million downloads. They're excited. They're like, oh my God, this is like great recognition regarding their brand. 1 million people downloaded, and there's like a 4-star. People love it. People buy it. People email me because they want more packs. They're like, where's the blueberry pack, and where's this, and we want that. And I'm like, okay, people are crazy about this app, and I love that, and they love that. So they want, at that point, they're like, okay, what can we do more? Yeah. What can we do to make this an even bigger success?
Have you ever turned down a customer because of their processes, or the fact that you just couldn't see a clear path to success for their app, even though the product could have been incredible, they have a great audience?
Every day. Okay. Every day. And I think that's the hardest. If we're talking about what's hard, is to choose the good brand, but also to choose the good partners. Every day I'm like, I go to meetings and I'm so excited about the brand and we really want to do it, but it's just not the good match. So every day I say no. And I'm like sad about it because I know it would be a great app and I'm not going to do it, but it's not a match with us.
Well, it's very hard to say no, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Especially when a good brand is knocking at your door with an established audience and they're willing to give you the work. But that's the key thing here is that, some of the work that we did in the company that I ran, we just took it. Damn the consequences. We just took it, and it ended up being pretty significant in a negative way for some of these. But some of the brands were great. What about is there anything that you have in the negotiating process? Like, some of the brands, they demand an upfront fee, a licensing fee, an ongoing fee, a lifetime fee, your first, second, and third born, and a bunch of other things. Do you find that with these brands, or are you're not looking for that kind of relationship, are you?
No, all the time,
Okay.
all the time. You know, they.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I just came back from New York like last week. I was at the Kids Screen Summit, and I met like 20 people in 3 days. And you know, they all have. You know, I feel it's more about this is what we do, this is the success we have, this is how we work. You know, I want also fairness between our partners. And this is it. You know, I'm open to negotiate, but this is the template. I say right away, the first meeting, I'll tell them exactly. I'm not going to wait like 3 meetings before talking about business. I think it's important, you know, or else everybody's wasting time. So I just tell them, you know, this is what we're looking for. We're flexible, of course. We're usually, I'm the one that is interested in their brand. You know, so I'm the one going to them, and I propose them a concept maybe at that point, and a business deal, and we're always flexible to negotiate. But this is the deal, you know.
What do you say? You know, when did that change? When did your mentality change from, you know, kind of, I think we can do this, we're going to try to build an app, and then you reached out to Dora, you closed Dora, and then from that point, it's kind of like, you know, a timid beginning, right? Like, can we do this? And then you realize you can do it. When did it change that instead of you accepting brands coming to you, it's like, no, I want your brand to work. I want to work with your brand and to become a little bit more aggressive with them. When did that switch for you guys?
Well, I think where it switched for us is, you know, I think it was our model since the beginning. You know, it's been 12 years. We had our service company. Yep. And we dealt with tons of clients. So already we knew what we wanted. You know, if we were going to invest, first of all, we invest in our app. You know, it's not a work for hire. We invest our money in it. So there's a kind of relationship at that point when it's us, you know, investing in development, in marketing, first of all. But I think that the big turning point, I think, is when for us is when we did, there's 2 things. When we went from paid to freemium, that's something I would love to talk about because it's really something, you know, that's where you're like, okay, this is regarding revenue wise, it's such a huge difference. And I think when we started also to publish, you know, we started to publish last year. But it's been the apps were in development since the beginning of 2012. And that's something that's really interesting for us because at that point, cross promotion between apps is important. So we want to have an ecosystem that makes sense. So it's not about having the best app, it's having the best app that works in that ecosystem. So because that's a big marketing tool for us. And there's tons of exciting stuff that we're developing technically and marketing wise regarding that cross promotion for 2013.
Well, I mean, you've just opened up a whole new thread of questions, which is exactly what I love. But I've got to ask you this one question. I mean, what's the makeup of your team internally here? You've got 40 people. Is it a good mix of designers, developers, marketers, salespeople? I mean, how does your team get made up?
Well, we're very tech, actually.
Okay.
And I think one of the, you know, you were talking about, you know, why did people want to work with us? I think marketing was a big thing, but tech was a big thing because a lot of developers were made from people that came from the web. We are in Montreal. There's 10,000 people working in the video game industry. You know, it's been 10 years that people worked in the video game industry. I come from Ubisoft. You know, in 97, I was at Ubisoft, and you know, engineers that we have here, it's been 10 years. They work, you know, on Xbox and PlayStation and like big consoles. So you know, they are so creative in their tech, and so we have a big tech team. I think we have like 20 engineers actually, and then I would say producers, artists, designers. Game designers, creative director, and marketing. That's it.
And so, I mean, what do you, yeah, I mean, technology, Montreal, for you who don't know, who are listening to this, Montreal is, like Vancouver, a game mecca. It's kind of the Eastern equivalent to Vancouver in Canada, where huge companies have created fortresses and hired a ton of people around the console gaming and the PC gaming. And I'm going to finish this entire episode with, I want to get your take on what's happening in this gaming industry, simply because of your past and your present, from console or from PC to console to tablet. I'd love to get your perspective on that. But Montreal is definitely a huge gaming city. But then how do you market this app? So you've got brands, you've got
Yes.
big brands that really market themselves, right? That's what people think in their head. And you listening out there, you're like, well, come on. I mean, how hard can it be to market Cinderella, right? How hard can it be to market Phineas and Ferb or Monsters, Inc. or Disney properties? So how do you market these things above and beyond the brand awareness that these big companies have already made for them?
Interesting. I think there's so many things said about it, and everybody says the same thing. There's not like a secret sauce in a sense.
No.
I wish there was, but I think it's about execution. It's about, we're talking about the icon. The icon has to be amazing, and we're talking about the keywords, and they have to be good. And you talk about the game itself, or the app has to be appealing. I think that, we do cross promotion with our partners everywhere. We have cross promotion between our apps. We use mobile ads also.
How do you use,
everything.
So you use mobile ads to draw attention? So you advertise in other people's games that are targeted the same age range?
We do. I think we do it more for launch.
Yeah.
It's not something that we do all the time. We do it a little bit. I think it's good to go up the rankings. I don't think it's something. Oh, sorry about
okay.
that.
It's live. Yeah.
It's live. But it helps the rankings. That's it. You don't do money with it. Like we don't.
Yeah.
It's just. But cross promo for us is the big thing. We put a lot of emphasis on that.
So and by cross promo, you mean you have these 15 products that are out there in the wild, many millions of downloads because you have managed to create these great products, and the cross promotion within that little ecosystem of 15 apps.
Sure. For now, unfortunately, they don't all cross promote because the deals we did like 2 years ago are not the same deals that we do now. But like right now, for the new app that we did and the app that are coming out, that's what we're gonna do even more. But also, I would say the model. I would say that the marketing itself is, for me, it's like when you think about the paid app and the free app, doing a freemium app is amazing. For me, it's promotion. I can see right now the difference. I put an app out, the same one. It's like paid, and then I do a freemium model of it. I just wanted to test, just to see the difference. It's the same app, and I could say like 3 months later, the freemium app did 10 times what the paid app did.
And
so just with that, so that's for me, that's like positioning in a sense. Marketing by positioning the app, or even the category is important. But a freemium app is great. I think that parents, they bought a lot of apps. They were very disappointed. They paid a lot of money for apps. And kids, you know how they are. They like it or they don't. So are you going to pay enough $3 and then you don't know if your kid is going to like it or not? I know. I have my kid. I always buy free app. And I'm okay after if I have to buy it for $10. But if they like it at first and I know they're going to play it, I'm okay to buy it for like $20. You know? Yeah. But I don't like buying an app, $2, and then they don't even want to open it.
Well, that's when I play it. Just, I play it 10 times, so I feel like I didn't waste my money. Right? That's me. My wife looks at me and says, "Rob, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, no. Look, I just spent $2 on it. Nobody's playing it. I'm going to play 10 times, and so I feel like I got some value out of it." Most games are terrible, but that's an interesting play, right? So the freemium model. Let me pull one step back. Is that the revenue mix here, right? So how important in these brand relationships is revenue to you as a result of the app? right? And I'm not talking about
Huge.
Okay, so do you
Huge. You know, we're a private company.
Yeah.
You know, we're not. You know, we don't have investors, and we're like that. Revenue is huge for us and for our partners. You know, we're not only about downloads. It's not about that. It's not that game. You know, we need to bring money. And until we bring money, our partners are going to be really happy. And the day we don't, they're not. That's the reality. But right now we do. So we're very successful at it. So I'm happy.
So, but your success obviously hinges on. I mean, it's not just about Disney paying you to build the Cinderella app. Here you go. Here's a lump sum of cash. Go build it. Thank you very much. I mean, are your deals structured?
We don't do work for hire. We did maybe 2 in 2 years, but that's it. We never did work for hire.
So when you said
we did 2,
you said that you're invested in this, is that this is a true partnership. You're building this app, and you're doing a rev split with them on the money that you make in the app store. That's how you're making your money.
Yes.
Good Lord, that's got to be why these companies earn that. Like, you are in this for the success, for the duration,
and they know it, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, I do.
I think that's fair.
Well, because
you know, they have a great brand, you know, and I think it's like, you know, 30% of the app is the brand, and then if we could work together on the marketing or their ideas, they know their target audience also, so we listen also. It's not just a one way, you know, we're just not a developer, this is what we do, etc. There's really a relationship every day. We talk, like the production team talk to our partners, like they want the best app for their audience, and we want the best app also, and we want to, everybody wants to do revenue, but we want to have, you know, great ratings. We want people to like it.
I mean, it's fascinating. Is that do they sign exclusive deals with you? So can somebody else use Cinderella in a different context, or? Again,
all the deals are very different, so it's hard for me to say. But there's some that are exclusive, and there's some that are not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm.
But for me, exclusivity is not like it's something that's important, but not like if I had exclusivity, maybe they want me to do like 7 apps in a year with the same brand. Yeah. Maybe that's not what I want to do, you know? So maybe I prefer to do 1 or 2 with the same property and not have exclusivity. So
how important was that, so that you knew your boundaries before you went into the negotiations? Obviously, like you knew what you wanted, but how important was it to say, look, you know what, that's not what we want. That's not in our business. How important was that to know before you went in and started negotiating with these guys?
It's very important. So it's all about the vision. So example, I know what I want. Like this year, I know I can do 20 apps. Mm-hmm. So we, you know, with my partners, we sit around the table and it's like, what do we want to do? And we know what we want to do, and we know what we want to create, and we know what's going to work best for us. So when I go in a meeting with, you know, a brand owner, I know exactly what I can bring, you know, and I don't focus on the negative. I focus on what I can bring them, and I know what I can bring at that point.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you put constraints around what you can do, and you choose the best things that are in line with your vision. One last question just about the brands, and then I want to ask about the impact of this, because I think that it's so significant what you guys are doing, and I'm so impressed that there's a company like Budge sitting inside of Montreal that has this kind of brand notoriety that you and me, I'm talking to the listener, you and me, you've probably never heard of this, but I've played these games, so I want to talk about that as well. But before that, is that when you look out there, and you know, these are big companies, Disney and so on, and they have great followings and great brands. You know, what do they think when they're getting into this mobile thing, right? Because I see a lot of people going in over the last couple of years, kind of with trepidation, we'll say, to get into the mobile space, and they don't put a lot of emphasis on it. But this last year, it seems like everybody is mobile first. Do these big brands understand what they're getting into, and what is their perspective getting into this with you from, you know, and then how do you lead them along for success?
You know, everything changed. So, you know, everything changed every 3 months. Yeah. So it's hard to answer that question. But really, what everybody, like, if you look at 2012, And those big companies right now, they do have departments that just take care of mobile, or they're in the gaming department or other department, but there's like a team. They're building their mobile team. It's happening. So it's taking more and more importance for them. And I love that in a sense, because if you have a good partnership with them, they are really, that's what they do. That team, if they're going to succeed, it's because the app are going to succeed. So it's not about side projects for them anymore either. Maybe 2010, it was like a side project. Why not? Let's try. But there's a lot of people now in those companies that are invested in creating apps and being successful. And they're trying to find the best partners.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's as crowded as this mobile app ecosystem is, right? I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that people are talking about millions and millions of apps, because as a brand, I don't want to be drowned in those millions of apps. I want to stand out in them. So I just always wonder what their perspective is that this is an important piece and it's an affordable piece, and big brands can be disrupted if they're not in there. And I think that certainly understanding the impact that mobile is going to have on your business is just a beginning, and a strategy is required. But from your perspective, it seems like this is a great equation. You take some great brands, some great relationships, build some great product, leapfrog the competition, right? Almost, I say this tongue in cheek, but it's almost like effortless, right? Is that,
It is, because you know what? All good things are simple. That's how if it's complicated, if it's complicated, there's something that's not working. That's how I see it. And no, it's really, it's not, it's about the first meeting, it's all about the first meeting and then executing, and that's it.
So
what's complicated? We're doing apps.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean? It's
I know. Every once in a while I need that perspective. It's like, Rob, we're not curing hunger. There is still war. There is famine. These are apps with a little platypus.
We just want to have fun doing our job. That's it. And we want to work with people we want to work with.
I love that.
That's important.
So for the brand, like for you itself, like the impact of doing this means that, like when you take a Phineas and Ferb or a Disney or anything like a Monsters Inc., you put that up in the App Store, and it is vaulted into the top 10. It's vaulted into popularity, right? So I mean, what has that done for your business? Because of, it's a crowded market. We built an app for the last company that had 5 million downloads around the world.
Sure.
And we were huge in South Korea and Japan, but it didn't net us anything, right? Because it was an unknown brand and people threw it away, and we couldn't replicate that because it was a one-hit wonder. But for you guys, each one of the 15 apps that you put out there has done exceptionally well. So what has that done for you? What has that done for these brands?
Well, it depends. There's two things. Revenue-wise, it did really well.
Good.
And it's funny to say, because I talk to a lot of other people that have apps out there, and they're like, "Oh my God, there's no revenue." So, but one thing we did good is revenue-wise. All our apps are profitable. We've done, a lot of profit, and we reinvested in tech, etc. But I think that one thing I think that we did a bit too late, not too late, but I wish we did earlier, is you said, well, nobody knows that Budge Studio exists. And that's why, we never published our apps before. And last year we started, and we're really going more into that. It's really important. I think this year we're going to have 10 apps and more that we're going to publish. And I think we want people to know Budge. It's important. We want kids to know Budge. And I think that's how we're going to have more and more brands, because we do, not for everybody, but for a lot of our partners, we do the marketing, we invest in the product, etc. So it's a bit our product, but our name is not on the App Store, or, and I think it's not fair in a sense. So we just want to make sure that, people know who we are, and they don't think we're just a developer.
Right.
Because we're so much more. Developer is good, but we're more than that.
What does it matter to the kid, though, that they know Budge versus Cinderella? Does it matter?
Well, every day when my kid comes and they love Toca Boca. There's something about Toca Boca. You know what I mean? They they have it's not brands. They're very different. It's a different market. But people know Toca Boca. My 3-year-old does. And I think it's great. And I want the same thing for Budge in a sense.
Yeah, and I think that I think that you're focusing on the right metric. Like you don't care about. You said it earlier. You don't care about downloads. What you're trying to figure out is how do you get into as many hands so that you can convert those hands into dollars. And I mean, that's the capitalist in me saying this. It's not the parent, because I'm a victim. I'm a victim of that myself. Right? Is that I get a game in here. It's like, oh my God, Skylanders again? Come on! But it's effective, right? So
sure.
I'm very interested around how you convert. Like, how do you make money inside of a vaunted app brand like Cinderella or like Disney? Like, there's got to be I think you've got to approach that kind of cautiously, don't you?
Well, first of all, I think that if you look at our app, they're really robust. Yeah. Really, like if you look at our apps in the book category, example, like the Doras, and there's a lot of Disney ones out there also. Like you look at the others versus ours, they're huge. I think there's more than 100 animation. I don't know how many pages. There's not only the books. There's like 3 activities. There's so many things going on. So I think it's worth the $2.99 or the $3.99. I think that we look at it and we there's the brand itself. We localize our apps. We put it on Android also, but we invest a lot of money. It's not an app. We never do app like in 3 months. Like I know people, they do in 2-3 months an app. We know it's us. It's like a 6 months period, and sometimes it's 9 and sometimes it's a year. It's like you're working with a partner, with a big brand. You want to make sure you get it right the first time. So we invest, and we think that it's the people want to pay more for quality. So I think it's all about that. So, and I think that's how we do our money, because they know that it's the big brand, and it's our app is a robust app, a robust experience.
So what you do is you give a little bit away for free, and then if they want to enable something else, you charge them at that point?
Not for all of them. Not for all of them. There's some that are like that. Like the one I'm talking example, the Dora Ballet Adventure. Was out like in February 2011, like almost two years ago, and it's still the number 2 book or 3 book in its category, because it's such an amazing app. Really, the product talks. We do marketing. I do understand that there is a brand, but there's a lot of other brands that don't work. But the product is really, it's mommy blogs love them, and all the moms, they're on forum, and they look at what other people, and they talk with friends, etc. And the kids just love that app. So that's an example. But for the freemium, it's really working, because at that point, for those who just want to test, it's like a trailer. It's like a trailer, and then revenue-wise, what's great about it, freemium for us is great, because if they want to buy a pack, they can buy a pack that's not too expensive. If they want to buy all, they get a rebate, but they can buy until like $12. So it's revenue-wise, it's great. And then when we want to update, we can update with new packs, and with new revenue also.
Yeah, I mean, I love recurring revenue, and I love the fact that these products don't expire, which is just incredible. Like, all wonderful strategies, and the fact that you've got these premium brands, and even going through the ebooks, there was I have twins, so it's that every once in a while you just need 15 minutes, right? You just need 15 minutes. You have 2 kids, so you understand that. You need I need 15 minutes. I just that at absolute panic. I just give me 15 minutes, please. Yeah. So I used to put on Little Einstein. Right, the lines, and it would give me 15 minutes. It was like that was like the savior. And I remember, my parents saying, well, you can't educate your kids. You can't put your kids in front of a television as a babysitter. I'm like, oh yeah, watch me for just 15 minutes. I'm gonna do it.
I love it. I'm not for the. I'm one of those moms. Like my kids don't watch television, and I'm a bit like conscious about things. But I do apps for kids, and I monitor. They're allowed to 15 minutes a day, but not more. I'm not going to give them an iPhone for like 3 hours or something. Yeah. So I want that. If I want that 15 minutes break, I don't feel guilty. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Especially when it's your product, right? They're early beta testers. You can say that as well.
Oh, they are testers. They're in the credits of our apps. All the kids at Budge.
I think it's incredible. All right, my last console game itself is Under Siege, right? And the handheld gaming, like the PlayStation Portable or the Nintendo DS, totally under siege because of these devices, smartphones, tablets. because people aren't going to spend $60 on a game anymore. They're going to spend $2 or $3 on a game, or they're just going to get it for free and decide later if they want to choose to buy or buy packs or upgrade. But what do you think is going to happen here? Coming from Ubisoft and then moving into this space, you must have seen such a transition, because you're talking about millions and millions and millions of people in a short period of time that have downloaded your apps, where it took years for EA to reach these marks.
I do. You know, if I knew, first of all, I would be a billionaire right now and I would be really happy. I don't know what the future holds. The only thing I know, it's always a cycle. You know what I mean? So there's going to always be the next big thing. And we just have to watch for it and be ready. You know, I think right now it's mobile. I love that because we're in it. We saw it at, 2 years and a half ago. Android also is doing great for us. You know, Google Play, Amazon, etc. We really believe in that too, and Apple. And we'll see. I don't know, but I'm listening. I want to learn. I want to, and if there's a new gadget that's going to come out, a watch or a glasses or something that we can do like apps for, we're going to adapt. It's all about adapting at that point. And we have a great team internally. We have like amazing programmers, artists, producers, and we can do whatever we want at a point. I don't know if I'm going to do apps for kids in 10 years, but I love this industry. I hope that I'm going to be able to grow within this industry and with our partners. And that's the only thing I know.
Well, I mean, it's a good answer. Nobody knows, and nobody could see this coming. Nobody saw the mobile industry coming with such voraciousness, right? That was basically eating other industries, and who knows where this goes. I'm just so intrigued by this whole thing.
Yeah, me
and
too.
especially with my kids being reared on iPads and not computers or consoles. I think it's an interesting time. So I lied. Is there a discrepancy between the revenue that you're earning between Android and iOS? Is it equalizing? What are you noticing in that market?
Well, what I could say is I'm really surprised. I like pleasantly surprised when we took the decision beginning of last year, that we wanted to invest on Android and to develop and to port a lot of our apps. Not knowing, a lot of people, I was asking around, I had friends in the industry, people didn't know really. And we said, look, let's do it. And we did, and I'm really happy we did. I think the numbers are good, a lot better than what we projected. Just to let you know, all of our other apps are going to be on Android also for 2013, for sure.
It seems like a natural extension, obviously, if you're looking for revenue.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what? I have a client, I think, that's here to use the studio.
Nice. Well, then that's when we end the interview. I told you.
Oh my! At 4, they had a meeting at 4.
Naomi,
sorry about that.
You know what? I always say that there's a natural end to these, and here's the natural end. So where should we send people to go and find more information for you?
BudgeStudios.com.
BudgeStudios.com. BudgeStudios.com. BUDGE Studios.com. Naomi, thank you for doing this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.
It has been great. We have been speaking with, I'm rushing through this because I know there's pressure now. We've been speaking with Noemie Dupuy, who is one of the co-founders at Budge Studios in Montreal. Go to BudgeStudios.com for more information and go download some of their products. They're awesome. Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
See you next time on Untethered.tv. Bye, everybody.
Bye.